Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Julie Clark. Julie, how are you today?
Hey, everybody. I'm a little bit, I don't know if I should even say that my name is Julie Clark today because maybe I'm just going to go by my alias with my smoky, sounds like today I smoked a pack of cigarettes. But the truth of the matter is I've been hanging around with a bunch of kids with sinus issues and they finally gave it to me. So as they say in Hollywood, the show must go on. So we're going to crank through this here today, even with my my alias, my Saturday night voice, we'll call it. For all you guys, this is your girl Julie, still here, just in the smoker's voice today. No doubt, right? Anti. So Joe, what are you up to? We're all good here in Seattle. We are here around May 1st. What are we at? May 2nd today. It's been a ride the last half of 2018 in this first quarter. But things are kicking into gear big time. We just did our market update podcast. Was that last week with Todd Britch? So if you guys are looking for an update on the market and a little projection forward, go back and listen to that one. But other than that, let's find out what Joseph is up to. Where are you at?
I'm actually in the parking lot of a mountain bike trail in Moab, Utah, and waiting to go mountain biking on this amazing red rock.
Well, haven't you? I mean, it feels like you guys have been out that way a long time. Is it just super awesome and you don't want to leave or what?
It is. There's a lifetime of stuff to do out here. It's really that much stuff. We've been hiking in arches and canyon lands, and we've just only scratched the surface.
I mean, yeah, if you guys aren't seeing all this awesomeness that Joe is posting on the Fantastic Life, go check it out because the photos and stuff you guys have been posting lately is amazing. You know, I'm a little jealous out here. I was just telling our awesome guest, Adrian Chu today and Joe, that I'm still hungover from my spring break trip to Charleston off the Southern barbecue. If you guys have not had Southern barbecue, first of all, maybe you shouldn't because you'll never be able to eat any other type of barbecue again. So, I'm having to live with a little sinus thing here, but I'm getting the sweet memory of Lewis Barbecue in Charleston, South Carolina that I get to keep with me here. But so any more snakes on the trail? Last time, I think you guys had to jump out of the way of a rattlesnake. What's going on? How much worrying do I need to be doing on my boy Joseph?
No worrying, although we were at our campsite this morning and we heard this kind of loud, like booming noise that sounded a little bit like thunder. And I've got to preface that the campsite's like in the middle of this, right next to the river where there's like 300-foot walls on each side.
Oh, great.
Which is why I don't have cell phone service a lot of the times unless I go into town. So like after 7 p.m., there's no cell phone service at all. But and it's not unsafe at all where we're at the campsite. But we hear this boom, right? And kind of like, oh, that was weird because it was at 9 a.m. and no thunderclouds around. And Emily says, look up behind me. And I turn around and look, and there's a person that had jumped off of the cliff wall and was parachuting down to the parking lot like 50 yards away from us.
Whoa.
And then we look up to the top of this, multi-100-foot cliff again, and there's another person up there. So we got to see them jump and free fall about halfway down before they open up their chute. It's crazy.
That is some crazy bones right there, right? That is an adrenaline junkie. No, you're not going to be doing anything like that, right?
Hells no, Julie.
Hells no.
You better come and slap me upside my head if you ever hear me talk about doing something like that.
I will certainly do that. Did you guys all see, sorry, we're just wasting time talking about stuff. Did you guys see the movie Free Solo?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you guys haven't seen Free Solo, Adrian, I don't know if it's your jam, but do you know what Free Solo is? Free Solo is, Alex, what's his name? Hongold. that climbed without any, any ropes or anything up El Capitan, and was it Yosemite?
Yep.
Holy smokes, good movie.
Oh wow, that sounds exciting. No, I actually haven't heard of that movie before.
Even if you're
I know
not
the Star Wars Solo, but not
there you go. No, not Han Solo. This is a more deadly kind of Solo, actually. But if you it's very, very, very inspirational in regards to simply becoming an expert at something and following your passion. I mean, it's inspiring in that sense. I took like every kid I could find to go see that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, well, let's jump into the biz here today, back to the real estate. So today we have back with us for, I don't know, is this round 2 maybe? Round 2 or 3? I think it was round 2.
Yeah, round 2.
Round 2, planning round 3 with one of our main men in town, Mr. Adrian Chu, who is a broker, an investor, a developer, a loan originator with eLink Mortgage, and pretty much the go-to guy in town that has all the resources. I always know, like I think I put something out recently, I needed an electrician, and Adrian, you responded. And I'm like, oh, if Adrian told me that guy, I'm sure he's good. So actually that guy did respond, and thank you very much. That electrician that you gave me.
Oh, okay.
So I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah. So Adrian also has his own Facebook community called House Hacks, Financial Independence Through Real Estate. And if you guys want to get into the awesomeness of some excellent resources and house hacking and basically just all around good information on a daily basis, I highly recommend you guys all join that group. You might, I don't know what rules you have there, Adrian, but if he asks you some questions, you better answer them. You're not going to get in. Same with in Seattle Investors Club, guys, and all quality Facebook groups. If you want to join one of the Facebook communities for real estate investors out there, either locally, probably even nationally, if they ask you questions and they ask you even for your contact information, you don't answer those questions, you're not going to get in, okay? We're all here to help and support each other, so join the conversation and genuinely jump in with us. But go join House Hacks Financial Independence Through Real Estate. Adrian's one of his Facebook groups. Do you have any others? I know you're like an administrator on WARI, I think.
Yeah, I help out with Mari, and Jan does a great job with that group. And
he sure does.
Community. You guys should join that one as well.
Heck yeah. So today, what we're going to talk about is one of our, I guess the point of our conversation today is how to get conventional lenders to love you. Adrian, being a multi-talented investor, broker, loan originator, is kind of the perfect guy to touch on that for us. But before we jump into that, we're going to talk about some other stuff too, but that's kind of the main meat today. But Adrian, tell us what you're up to. I know that you like to diversify your portfolio or attempt to. And sometimes in Seattle, it can be hard to do that maybe with our high prices and things like that. But tell us what you're up to as far as, your own real estate biz and what you're pursuing this year. I think I saw a post that you had made something about, with the market shift that happened here at the end of 2018. And now we're like I said, we're moving in the right direction, but there's still a little bit of a roller coaster ride going on. I think there's ultra conservatives. You need to be ultra conservative still at this point in the market, in my opinion. I mean, don't be scared to take action, but make sure that you're not just relying on yourself, guys, when you're looking at deals. Get opinions of brokers in the market, or the brokers that are going to be listing yourself, or lenders, or guys like Adrian, or gals like myself. Before you buy stuff, run it by somebody, because it's kind of we're not out of the turbulence yet. And one of the things Adrian said, because I troll him on all these threads and stuff like that, is you said with the recent market shift, Adrian, it's becoming more important to set a standard for yourself and stick with it. And that standard could be location, investment type, investment strategy, price point, or other criteria you as an investor, people out there have defined for themselves. So what is it that you're up to today? What are you looking for? And then we'll jump into more details about lending and loans and how to be a rock star in the eyes of conventional lenders.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. First off, yeah, thanks, Julie and Joe, for having me here again. I think, adding on to what you said about, having standards, I think it's definitely important in this little bit more turbulent environment to kind of, focus and don't, spread yourself too thin. Because you always want to have multiple exit strategies and have ways out. When one avenue as an exit strategy for any investment project is having good conventional financing, which we'll go into I guess later in this episode. As far as what I'm working on right now, so doing the different investment properties, rentals, and rehabs, and still working on a couple of new builds, mostly in city of Seattle, and at the same time, continuing building the services side of the business, providing a essentially a one-stop shopping experience for clients. From the real estate brokerage side, we do land acquisition and sellouts for infill developers, and then from the financing side, kind of the way I came up with this concept. My background's in the tech industry, and there's a concept in tech called full stack. If you're a software engineer, and if you call yourself like a full stack software engineer, software developer, basically, you have all the different tools to, kind of pursue what the client needs.
Exactly. Which one of those tools that you offer do you personally enjoy working on the most?
All of them. I love real estate. I guess that's why I'm doing this.
Right. I think I saw somewhere where you said said somewhere you said something like some people might want to have, earn cash flow or their monthly nut so they have stability so they can travel and all that stuff. But you said, I just want to hang out and do real estate, right?
Yeah. It's been fun. Like I mentioned in the last episode, right? I think I was reading the real estate fundamentals, the book for the initial clock hours class, back in middle school. So I know I wanted this. And
Yes, you
here I am
did.
today. Yeah.
So what are your current goals for yourself? Do you have for like 2019? And have they shifted based on what happened in 2018? Are you trying to buy X amount of burrs or co-living places or do X amount of developments?
I don't really set any like quantitative or even qualitative goals, just kind of go with the flow. Sometimes it's hard to predict how the market behaves. And, I think in terms of last year, I think I kind of did all the adaptation, last year already with some
Right.
projects. And, I shared that within the Facebook group, some of those.
Right.
And I think this year, kind of the newer things happening in Seattle is a new rezone that just passed last month, finally,
Yep.
after, it's been like a 2 or 3 year long discussion. So there's some, opportunities there to kind of work with the new zoning and the new processes.
What's your opinion about the RSL sites? Just a little diversion here. Are those kind of like, are you excited about RSL zoning, or is that kind of the stepsister to some of the other zonings that you might?
It is a stepsister to, some of the higher density zonings, but at the same time, RSL it's a opportunity to do something, interesting as well. Just not as high density. And I think right now with the market, it seems like, back in 2017, like late 2016, early 2017, because, land prices kept on going up and up, a lot of developers came up with ideas to build, even higher density, smaller units. And, as an example, a 6,000 square foot lot back in like 2013 would have been 4 units, 4 townhomes, maybe 2 front, 2 in the back. All of a sudden, in 2017, architects and builders started planning for, even up to 8 units on the same size site. And as a result of that, the unit size became smaller. And in 2018, we saw, market shift, and one of the segments that
Took a hit.
He took a hit. Yeah, kind of took a hit where these really small miniature townhomes that, and most of the time they didn't have parking either. So those were, those kind of took a hit because at that point people felt like, oh, they could, there are more options out there. They don't have to go for the, 900 square foot, no parking townhome. And
Right.
I feel like part of that is because, the condos started coming back up again, and, people have choices, right? If they could live in, say, 900 square foot townhome kind of, 20 minutes away from downtown without parking, or they could get a, condo in Capitol Hill or Wallingford or wherever, for a similar price point, but, having that closer in location.
Yeah. Well, actually, since we're talking about condos, I'm going to just do a side thing because I have some condo questions on the lending stuff, just because we're on that subject right now. When somebody either, let's say just a regular, so an investor wants to buy a condo or flip a condo, what are some things that they need to, because the price points in Seattle make it maybe more attractive sometimes to consider doing condo flips. Do you do those at all?
I started out doing condo flips way back in the day, 2013 or so. Back then every condo was, they're like in the five figures. Now
What do you feel like now? What do you feel about condo flipping these days?
Well, I think condos will
Or buy and holding condos.
Good, kind of entry level starter home in city. Right? Let's say, with a budget of 300,000, for example, you're either looking for a condo closer to the city or a home, 45 minutes to an hour away, single family home. You either have to go up to, say, Everett or Marysville or down to, around Tacoma area. But whereas, if for someone working in Seattle or Bellevue and don't want that hour-long commute each way, I think condos will be a popular choice.
Yeah, I think so too. And as an investor though, what do investors need to watch out for? Because, there are a lot of starter investors out there, or, they need to be aware about the HOA in regards to, financing and just problems that it can cause. So, when investing in condos, as it relates to financing, both the buyer and the condo community have to qualify for the financing, right?
Yes. Well, the first thing for an investor, if you intend to buy a condo to rent out, the first thing to check if there are any restrictions for rentals. Usually it can take shape in two forms. One is a rental cap where, HOA just says that, a certain percentage of the units have to be owner occupied. And if, only a certain percentage can be rented out. And if that, percentage has been rented out already, you'd have to wait.
How do you find out? Do you have to pay for a resale certificate and get that information? How do you find out?
Well, normally, a real estate broker would ask the HOA, either the management company or the board, to confirm. A resale certificate will tell you also, how many units are rented out versus owner occupied. But usually, you don't want to go that far in without knowing the basic information, because otherwise it'd be, wasting everyone's time.
Right.
Yeah. So normally, it usually, I see, some listings they would tell you in the remarks where if there's a rental cap or if the rental cap is full. I know a lot of times they don't, and I think that piece of information should be on every condo listing. Otherwise, a listing agent will just get a bunch of questions from people asking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about FHA loans and condos.
Yeah. So FHA loans, and also VA loans, they require a certain, it's a special approval where that condo project has to qualify for. And so usually the HOA would initiate that process. And if you go online, you can Google, there's a database in the HUD website that shows you, which condos have been approved for VHA. I mean, sorry, FHA, and then also VA has a same website that shows that as well.
Can you do me a favor? Will you, Joe, and you follow up after this and get a link to that we can put in the show notes?
Yeah. I'll send you guys both of those links, and it's that's a good first step. If you're going for FHA financing, first step you want to check is check if that condo is approved for FHA or VA or whatever type of financing you want.
Right, because sometimes they're either not approved. I mean, if somebody's going for FHA or VA financing, that if that building hasn't been approved already, then you're not going to be able to pursue it, right?
Right. There have been several scenarios I've been involved in where we were able to work with the HOA and drive that approval process. So that's another possibility if the HOA is on board to doing that. That's definitely a possibility as well. It adds some time to the closing process potentially, but it's definitely a possibility as long as the HOA is on board. And usually real estate broker or lender can kind of drive that process in conjunction with the HOA. So nothing's impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have would you, like, if you were doing your loan origination for condos, do you have certain lenders that you feel are better for condos versus single family traditional?
Yeah. So, my mortgage license is with the mortgage broker, so we have access to a lot of different wholesale lenders. And I think in general, most of the wholesale lenders just basically conform to the minimum guidelines, set by either Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. And so those they're generally pretty flexible as far as condo restrictions. I know some other lenders out there, banks, they would set their own overlays on top of the minimum requirements set by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So as far as conventional financing goes, there's a set of guidelines that are set by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You can Google all of this stuff. It's all published online. And then certain lenders, they have the option of setting their own overlays on top of the minimum guidelines. I think it's purely for them, they look at it as a risk management control. They want to make it harder.
Do you try and avoid those lenders that have that?
Yeah, and it's pretty. Part of the process is to understand, which lenders, have and don't have restrictions for what, the borrower intends to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we want to find
the point is, guys,
there's.
When you're working with a lender, or you're looking at stuff, just make sure you're talking to somebody that's, I would say, well versed in the ups and downs or tricks of the trade regarding, condo loans and stuff like that. So obviously, Adrian would be a good choice to check in with if you're thinking about either buying or you have friends or family looking at condos. You already know right now you have a resource in Adrian. Sorry, my voice is getting weird.
And one last thing I wanted to point out with condos is that recently, I think it was about a year ago, for condos, the lender goes through, there are two types of reviews that it could go through. One is called limited review, and then the other is a full HOA review. So depending on the type of review you need, there are different requirements. We can go into a lot deeper detail in this, but basically, the idea is if you can go through a limited review, even if the condo doesn't meet, some of the requirements, you can still get the loan to go through. And so the change is that in the past, it could only work if you're planning to owner occupy the condo. And now it's loosened up such that if you're an investor, you can still qualify for a limited review.
Which affects your closing timelines, right? You need to know these.
Well, closing timeline, and then there's just some condos that don't meet the full review requirements. Because the full review has there's a long list of requirements that the condo HOA has to meet, And if you can do limited review, which in the past was only open to owner-occupied buyers, you can, jump the hoops there.
And
And
you're saying
now,
it's public information available somewhere?
yeah, it's all, yeah, you can, this is all, you can Google all this information. But as far as now, even as an investor, you can go through limited review if you do 25% down or more.
Awesome.
Like that's the key takeaway. So in the past, there were some, condo HOAs that might not meet all the full review requirements, but work for limited review. Now, if you're an investor and do 25% down, you can still do limited review. In the past, that wouldn't be an option.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. There's your little condo talk for the day, guys.
Yeah.
And look at the show notes. Look at the show notes for some of these links that we're talking about. And we'll get those from Adrian. Well, let's jump into some other stuff here. So one of the things I saw you and like Nee talking about, our buddy Nee Lee, who we love very much at Certain Lending, who is, more on the hard money side. We're talking conventional side today. One of the things that I saw you both say is go for the easy acquisition loan. We're talking about investment properties. Go for the easy acquisition loan and the low rate refinance loan. Because people are talking about rates and terms and, I think people sometimes forget about the ease of getting something closed and the timelines. You could easily lose a deal when you're an investor if you don't have a quick closing ability. So let's talk for a minute about what that comment means, going for the easy acquisition loan and the low rate refinance loan. Does that mean anything to you, or can you expand on that at all?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, the key there is that you want to acquire the property, if you really want to buy it. And so you want to make sure you're able to get it within the closing timeline of your contract, right? Of course, yeah, you can extend your contract, but it's not guaranteed that the seller will agree to an extension, right? So if you really want the property, you want to make sure you get it by the initial closing date on the contract.
Exactly.
That's the key takeaway there. And then as far as rates go, I mean, if you intend to refinance the property or if you intend to flip it, if you're pretty confident that you won't really need the hard money loan for that long, I mean, your interest rate, it's pretty negligible in the long term.
Right.
Yeah, because you're only holding the property for a short term with that loan. So
right,
even if it's like let's say 8% or 10%, that's over a year. And most of the time, in the ideal case, for kind of the acquisition piece, it'd be a short term kind of bridge loan. So.
I think that investors and newer investors, get caught up in. They just focus so much on the best deal. They're such cheap asses. You guys are all cheap asses. That's what I'm saying. I love you, but you're cheap asses. And I think sometimes people lose sight of the bigger picture, right? Because they're nickel and diming their way through the process, or, researching who's the cheapest for this and that, and so forth like that. So let me just make another comment here about, something related to this type of thread of discussion is if you're using hard money up front, how you structure it and the amount of leverage you use can also affect the need for rate and term refi versus a cash out, right? As far as timing goes, having to wait 6 months, or you know what I mean, as far as that goes. Can you talk about like seasoning or anything on how that relates to rate and term refis with hard money?
Yes. So there are two types of refis. One is called rate and term refi. One is called cash out refi. The difference is with the rate and term refi, basically you already have a loan on the property and you're just getting a loan to match the amount on the existing loan. Whereas, cash out refi, you're pulling extra cash out, whether that be, the whole, whether you own the property free and clear and you're pulling cash out from it, or if you already have a loan from it, but you want a larger amount, then that becomes a cash out refi. And cash out refi, typically the interest rate is higher for cash out refi. One way to mitigate that is you can get the cash out refi and then usually after 6 months, you can refinance it again to a rate and term refi if it, if it's a good idea at the time, then that's something you could always consider. Because it's only the first time where it's considered a cash out refi.
So how do you structure your buy hold investments yourself? What's your go-to strategy for that?
Well, there are multiple ways to do it. And first, it depends on how you acquire the property. One of the most straightforward ways of doing it is if let's say you buy a property all cash, and then that enables you to qualify for what's called delayed financing. Within the first 6 months of acquiring the property, you can use delayed financing. And what that does is you could, it's possible to get more than what you could have gotten as far as financing at purchase. Because when you purchase a property with conventional financing or even hard money, they set a loan to value amount. So for example, let's say a house is $400,000, for example, and you wanted to do let's say 25% down, so that'd be 75% loan to value. You get a loan for $300,000 on a $400,000 house. Whereas if you get delayed financing, you could buy the property all cash, and it would be a cash out refinance.
With a higher loan to value.
Yes, but it's possible to get a higher loan to value because they won't look at the purchase price. It would be based on, the loan to value would be based on the appraised value of the property. So if you get a really good deal, kind of below market value, it is possible to get 100% of your purchase price basically one day after you bought it. I mean, you still have to go through the loan process, but it is possible.
But you'd have to pay cash for the property.
Yeah, you'd have to pay cash for it. So
what if you can't pay cash and you're the average investor?
So then, okay, let's say you do hard money to buy the property. Depending on the amount of your hard money loan, you're basically, when you do the refinance, if you try to refi within the first 6 months of buying it, then you would do a rate term refinance based on what the amount of your hard money loan is.
Right. No cash.
Yeah, but it would still have to, fit. It still has to appraise and fit into the requirements for loan to value for your refi.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to do a cash out, you just have to sit on it longer.
Yeah, and then it can. Then after 6 months, it won't use the purchase price as your maximum.
All things to think about, guys.
Yeah, so there are a lot of ways to think about it, but that first example I mentioned about the delayed financing, it could be very powerful. Of course, it's you need to purchase the property with cash, but if you get a below market deal, basically you can get up to 100% of your purchase price back.
I don't know. There seems to be a strategy there with a delayed financing, and somehow, well, I guess you'd have to. I mean, you couldn't have a private money loan on there, because that's a loan, right?
Yeah, that's considered a loan. So the other way to do it is if you have a loan on another property or a HELOC or that's collateralized on a different property, then you could do it this way as well.
Use the HELOC to
use the funds from the HELOC to buy the property, and it'd be considered cash.
Right.
And, you'd be able to do this delayed financing.
Well, let's now that we mentioned HELOCs, let's jump into HELOCs right now. So, what do you use your HELOCs for, and who's offering the best rates and terms these days, do you think?
Yeah, so HELOCs, I mainly use them for whenever I need to use them. Mostly for acquisitions. It's good to have. Basically, the way I explain it to people, it's basically a credit card with a huge credit limit. it's collateralized on your property. Interest rates are lower than credit cards, and you just pay interest when you use the money. If you don't use the money, you can return it and repeat.
Do you ever now, in what scenario would a HELOC get called or closed?
It's kind of unclear. I've heard of stories where in the previous previous downturn, where some banks and credit unions just decide to pull all HELOCs, just call them and cancel them, and especially if it's unused, then they have the right to do that. And I know, I talked to somebody actually recently where they said their strategy is to just get the HELOCs and then pull the money out, but not do anything with it. And the gentleman I talked to about that, he looks at it as an insurance.
Was that Brian?
No, it's
okay.
not. Yeah, but I think he felt it before, and something must have happened in the previous downturn. So basically what he does right now is he gets the HELOC, he takes all the money out, and he puts it in like a CD, even though the interest rate, you're probably paying like 4 or 5% or more, or 6% on the HELOC, and you're probably getting like 2% on the CD, but he sees that 4% as a kind of like a insurance policy for that. So it's an interesting approach. I never thought about that.
Well, it sounds like a reaction to somebody who got a spanking before or something happened.
I believe so. Yeah, I'm not sure about the specifics, but it's definitely another way to look at it. And
so you use the HELOCs off your other, you have other rental properties, and you have a HELOC.
Yeah, off other properties. Yeah,
off each one of your properties that you use to. How do you finance your deals these days? Are you using a combination of hard money and HELOCs, or?
I think it depends on the situation and what the property is for, and timing.
And so, who are your favorite HELOC lenders right now?
I think the credit unions generally are pretty good.
I think is First Tech is one. People are always talking about BECU.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the credit unions. I think they don't lend in all states, so for those of you out-of-state folks, they might not be applicable. But
if you're out of state listening to this, we have a lot of investors here locally that invest out of state or pursuing that. So be awesome if you guys would leave us a comment on the podcast about who your favorite out of state HELOC lenders or even conventional lenders are. We all share with each other. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, totally. Because I know they're state specific for some of them. They don't lend in all states. So
what are typical rates? What are typical rates or any limitations with HELOCs?
Usually for primary residents, you get the best rates, highest loan to value. I've seen rates kind of like 4, 5, 6, maybe up to like 7%.
They're still going to check your DTI or what?
Yeah, they do. And every institution kind of has their own policies for that. For HELOCs, there isn't a, kind of a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac setting the guidelines for everybody.
Right.
So you'd want to check with, the institution you get the HELOC from to see if your situation conforms with what they're looking for.
So tell everybody real quick, just to make sure. I know that a lot of people are experienced. There's also some newer people listening, I'm sure, as well. Just a quick explanation of what primary versus non-owner occupied means and how it affects lending, right?
Yeah. So generally, for both conventional lending and even the HELOCs, if you're buying a home as a primary residence, basically, the rule is that within 60 days of closing, you'll move into the property and owner occupy it for the next year. So that's your primary residence. So you live there basically, and for investment, then it's just like a rental property.
Do you have any referrals for people on which banks or credit unions are most generous in regards to debt to income ratios?
Oh, for HELOCs or for conventional?
For either one.
Well, I mean, conventional, yeah. I'm a, I work with a mortgage broker. We have access to a lot of different wholesale lenders, and basically, as far as debt to income goes for conventional loans, 50% is a common um, maximum. So basically, it's the way you calculate debt to income is all the any debts you may have plus the principal, interest, property tax, insurance of any properties you own, and then divide that by your gross income. And I think that leads into the next discussion about income whenever
Go for it.
ready. Yeah, so income, the best way to show income is if you have a W-2 job. That tends to be the quickest. Basically, you get the job, you can,
Well, I think, just to preface that, let's say that a lot of people who listen to real estate gurus preach the lifestyle of quitting your job. And I think here at Seattle Investors Club and our local real estate investment community with all our clubs and all, we're tight here. We're a unique group. I think we all say, I think the word is out. Don't quit your day job.
Yeah, seriously, don't quit your day job unless unless you already have basically max out your your lending.
And especially if you're changing industries, if you're going from tech to real estate, that's like, you're not in the real estate business. That affects your ability to borrow because you've changed industries.
Yes, especially if you're going from a W-2 to becoming self-employed. It takes time to build qualifying income for self-employed. So generally it takes two years. So basically you would have to have 2 years worth of tax returns that show what you made in those 2 years, and underwriter will use the net income, not your gross income if you're self-employed.
And are they averaging those 2 years always, or the first year's lower and the second year's higher?
Yeah. So if the second year is higher than the first year, then they will average it. If your second year is lower than your first year, then they'll just take the second year. So basically, if you're self-employed, you basically get the worst, kind of like the worst case scenario of the two options, right? If they'll take the lesser of the two or the average. So
that's why we're telling you guys all to keep your day jobs, right?
So, exactly. So if you're self-employed, it will take you 2 years to build it up, and sometimes it might take longer, depending on what when you make the shift during the calendar year.
What fluctuations you have.
Exactly. So let's say the first year, you only have, let's say it's year end, and you only have like 1 or 2 months to do your business. Then basically you have to wait another year to get 2 years worth of good tax returns if if you need that income to qualify. So it's really hard. The way conventional lending works, it's really hard for self-employed, and it's really hard to improve too based on what you have. Let's say you have 2 years worth of tax returns already, it's pretty decent. But if you want to increase your qualifying income, you have to have a really, really strong third year and file your tax returns.
How does passive income play into that for borrowers?
Well, yeah, let's say if you have rental properties and stuff, that also counts. That will offset your your mortgage for those rental properties and different expenses.
And will they count 100%? Will they count 100% of the passive, the rental income, or only 75% or something?
75%, yep, because there's always other expenses that come up, vacancies. So again, the underwriter will see it. Okay, rental property, it's riskier than getting income from a W-2 job. Likewise, being self-employed, it's also riskier. But the perks of having a W-2 job. Let's say you've been working, you find a new job that pays more. Basically, in most cases, you can use the new higher income right away. But if you're on a 1099, you have to wait until the following year when you file the tax returns, and it's based on your net income. not
So
your
are there
gross
any,
income.
do you have any hacks or tricks for anybody who is, other than keeping your day job, for anybody that is needing to borrow money? Is there any like setup or strategies that you have?
Yes, if you want to look, depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to transition from a W-2 to become self-employed, best way to do that is to have at least two overlapping years. Let's say, you work in tech, for example, and, you also, want to go into real estate brokerage, and make that your full-time gig. Then what you want to do is you want to, be working in tech and, spend the next 2 years building your real estate brokerage business so that, that handoff can be, more seamless, because you'll have
Right.
continually, if you, also intend to keep buying properties during that time, you want to have, a continuous stream of what the underwriter would consider as income.
These are all things people need to learn from the very beginning. Not that I think it's all taught backwards. Like Adrian and I were talking about that.
I think so. Even for me, it took me a while to, learn all this. I got my real estate broker license in 2010. I got my mortgage license in 2012. But it's all, a learning curve to understand, not just, okay, especially for lending, first of all, guidelines change all the time. So it's important to, first get an understanding of the basic guidelines and then kind of learn the new guidelines and then figure out how to, I guess the biggest thing is just really, it's about conforming, conforming to the guidelines set, by Fannie and Freddie and the conventional lenders. If you
So
want,
what is that conforming? What does that look like? Give us an example of
so
somebody.
the previous example I told you, if somebody wants to go from being in a W-2 job to becoming self-employed, and that's the same, basically the same if you were to even start a business in the similar field that you were in before too. If you're going from a job, a salaried W-2 job, to becoming self-employed, there's going to be kind of that transition period, in terms of how the underwriter analyzes your income. So it's definitely important to, if you care about being able to get conventional financing, continuously, you want to make sure there are no gaps in what, in the timeline.
And some of you out there might be thinking, well, I'm not going to be buy and hold investor. I'm going to flip. Well, guess what? If you have a flip go bad, and you could very well, like a lot of our friends just ended up in the situation, like they sure wish they could get that conventional loan on there. They get that hard money off there because you got a flip gone bad. And
Yeah, definitely. So, and yes, being able to get conventional financing is huge in terms of, it's a possible exit strategy for a flip. Especially last year, we saw, okay, the market kind of changed, and, sometimes selling is not the best way. Sometimes, if that's the only exit, then, you're forced to, make a bad decision.
one of the things you guys should think about as you're getting started or you're growing your business, or even if you're doing well and you want to uptick it, is to look for a partner maybe that has a job, right? What do you think about that?
That could work as well.
Yeah.
That's, that adds additional variables.
How would that work if you were seeking out the ideal situation and you were like, well, I'm going to find a partner that has a day job that can qualify? I mean, then you're in a partnership and that person's carrying it.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. That person is carrying it. That person will be on the loan.
That person deserves a little bit more of the reward of the deal for doing that.
Yeah, they're taking all the risk, basically. Still be on the loan, and
Right. So one of the things, guys, when you're getting started investing, I always say, what do you bring to the table? So the very first thing you should think about when you start as looking at getting into being an investor is, what do you contribute? What can you contribute? Right? You're either going to have some sort of skills, like you're a broker or a contractor or, maybe a lender, or maybe you've got money for some reason, you've got family money, or you've got a pile of money sitting around from having a great day job, right? Or you've got hustle. Hustle is a something, right? That's worth a lot, especially in wholesaling. You got to have a lot of hustle. But one of the things that you can bring to the table, if you got none of those things, is purely that you have a day job and that you are a good borrower, right?
Yeah. Not necessarily money either, right? It's just having that day job, which will allow you to get conventional financing. Exactly. So so that's another alternative, right? If getting a day job isn't an option, then having a partner with a day job, that could help mitigate that situation. But then that also
layers some complications.
Yeah, it creates complications too, right? Because you introduce a new partner to the deal, and that could it could be good, it could be bad. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah, and I'm more so thinking about it from the beginning. You buy it from the beginning. You just have to make sure you've got it worked out with, if the exit strategy ends up being that a loan is required, then the partnership agreement should cover what happens.
Right.
And what splits change and so forth for the person carrying it. All these things should be talked about ahead of time. But I think it's a good idea. I mean, if it's kind of like, to me, when people are in teams, somebody should have a real estate license. Somebody should have a day job. That's what I think, because I'm a big fan of everybody having a real estate license.
Yeah, I mean, day job, or just having that stable self-employed income. Right. It's just as good.
Well, let's jump to another strategy that I think you like, which is house hacking, right? Or what is house hacking, and how does financing change, or what are the benefits of that?
So house hacking, the best way to do it where it benefits you from a financing perspective is if you get a multi-unit property, duplex, triplex, fourplex, as an owner occupied, if you intend to owner occupy one of the units, that opens you up to, there are two very good lower down payment options. One is FHA. Basically, it's possible to buy a fourplex with 3.5% down. The other is Freddie Mac Home Possible. So that's 5% down minimum. So those are the two options that let you buy a multi-unit with pretty low down payment. Because normally for multi-units, if you buy it as an investment, it's typically 25% down situation. So that's definitely a clear benefit where you can get a property with low down payment and collect rental income from the other units. So that's one way to go about it.
Let's talk real quick as we're getting towards winding down here about like loan terms. So interest rates, like interest only versus non-interest only, or loan terms like maturity dates.
Yeah, definitely. Interest only, it was a big thing, I think, back in 2006, 2007, where you only pay interest. You don't pay any of the principal, and you pay the principal. Usually it's in the form of balloon payment. When the loan ends, you owe that big, huge chunk of money. So for conventional mortgages now, it's all principal and interest amortized over the loan term. So you could do like 15 years, 30 years. I know with 15 years, your interest rate is lower, but then your monthly payment is a lot higher because you're paying off the loan quicker. And as investors, I'm on the side where I think it makes sense to get the 30-year loan, because that way you have a lower mortgage payment each month, and
pay down principal
to qualify for more loans, because your debt to income ratio is based on the amount of your mortgage payment.
And if you wanted to pay down faster, you just write a check.
Pay it down faster, but it gives you that flexibility where you get to choose how fast you want to pay it down, and it opens you up to, you can qualify for more loans and essentially get more homes. So I think as an investor, it makes sense to do 30-year loan. But some people choose to think differently, right? Some people think, okay, if I get 15-year, I pay less interest overall. I save more money, and it's not nothing wrong
Well,
about
it
that.
comes from the cash flow too, right? I mean,
That too, yeah, cash flow. But then it also comes to it's a personal choice. For some people, they might not want to buy 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 rental properties. They might just want to buy one, and I don't think that way, but you want to do what works for yourself, right? Because
and there's a limit on the amount of conventional loans somebody can have.
there is, and that limit is 10 for most lenders, but some lenders will have overlays on top of that that limit you that restrict you from having.
Why would you want to use one of those lenders that has overlays, or are you just trying to avoid them?
Yeah, generally it's a good idea to avoid them because they just create headaches.
Right.
Yeah, I think because they're just trying to be more conservative with their underwriting. Because anytime they add an overlay, it's just basically it makes it harder for you to get a loan. So it's the pool of loans that they have is more restrictive. I think it's they consider it to be less risk for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into another couple more things here. Co-living. I know you're interested in the co-living model. How's that as far as the collecting of the rents and the income on that versus, market rents? You might be able to get a premium, obviously renting by the room, right?
Yeah, you can get a premium renting by the room. But it's also more management that you have to do, and I have yet to see a property manager that would manage a co-living setup. But yeah, it's more work, but more cash flow, and it's definitely a lot more cash flow, and you don't have to leave Seattle to do it. So.
And what about financing though? Do they if it's a single family home with?
Yes. So if you have a single family home, you can have multiple leases on a single family home.
And the lender will count. It'll be a 75%.
The only catch is that if you are trying to finance or even refinance a property where the subject property is in the co-living setup, you're limited to what the appraiser says the rent is worth.
Which could be less than your collect.
Generally will be less than what you can collect, renting by the room, because they'll only look at it as, you renting out the whole house to one.
Is the appraisal affected at all by a co-living setup? Like, do you want to do co-living and then refinance, or do you want to refinance and then do co-living?
It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if the house is a house, right? They would value it as a house.
Right.
They wouldn't care about, the possible income you can generate.
What about Airbnb income? Same thing, right? If as far as limitations on, I think Albert, at one time we were talking about strategies on how to collect the Airbnb income. So more of it would be counted, since we're talking probably premium income, right?
Yeah. But, in the end of the day, for the property, usually for a rental property, you're limited by the appraisal. So it's kind of a similar situation as rooming house, right? It's just because you can collect, $15,000 a month off of Airbnb versus, like $4,000. Normally, the appraiser will base it based on the,
market rates.
Yeah, market rates, exactly. As a, single.
If anybody listening has any strategies out there that allow you to, get more credit for those premium rents, let us know. Hit us up at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com. I don't know why I thought I heard somebody talking about that. I don't remember who or what, but I'm not following the Airbnb stuff that much. So if you are an Airbnb expert and you have some secret sauce strategies to max out loans or values, hit us up. Like I said, and maybe we'll have you on the podcast. Let's see. Do you think rents right now are stable, going up, going down? What do you think? What's your take?
I think it really depends on the segment. I think right now in Seattle, we see a lot of newer apartments get built. And those, I mean, the
Put
rents are
downward
really high
pressure.
for those. It's like 2,000 or 2,500 for a one-bedroom apartment, and most people wouldn't want to pay that even if they can afford it. So from what I understand, there's a lot of vacancy in that space. But everything else, from what I've seen, stuff's been renting really quickly.
When you're underwriting your own buy and hold properties,
Yeah.
how much vacancy do you build into your underwriting?
So a lot of people ask me this, and I don't even build Excel pro formas for any of my projects or properties. I know people that build out
You mean
fancy
you're like you're a gut investor?
I'm a gut investor, and the way I
That's
look at it,
because you're like 18 and you can afford to lose. Us old people, we got to be a little more tight with everything, is what I'm saying.
yeah, but the way I look at it, like say a single family home rental, if rent, well, for me personally, I think if it covers for the mortgage, and it's a good appreciating area. I look at it more biased towards appreciation than cash flow.
Do you have a minimum cash flow in your pocket I know that, you can go with the appreciation ideally, right? Do you
Yeah.
have a minimum cash flow in your pocket, $500 a month, something like that?
No, I mean, 500 is nice, but I don't really um have strict requirements for that.
And guys, what we're talking about here are all personal choices. There is no
Yeah, they are
rule.
personal choices. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. I know a lot of people, they like to, go further out for their rentals to get more cash flow or go out of state. And, it's definitely, they're all good options, but, it's more of a personal choice what you want to do. Like for me, I prefer to stay, as close to Seattle as possible. And, it's a personal choice.
Hey guys, Joe here. I just want to take this super quick break from the action to let you know something that we have really cool to offer you guys. As you know, marketing is the lifeblood of our real estate business, and Julie and I spend a ton of money sending out postcards and letters to people all around the Seattle area. We've partnered up with YellowLetters.com to get you guys 10% off all of your marketing needs at Yellow Letters. All you have to do is go to YellowLetters.com, and when you check out, use the code Seattle Investors Club, and you'll get 10% off any of your marketing needs at YellowLetters.com. You can send postcards, letters, whatever it may be that YellowLetters.com has, so that you can keep your marketing engine running for a little less money. So go to YellowLetters.com, use the code Seattle Investors Club with no spaces, and get your marketing going today. All right, let's get back to the action.
All right, well, let's wrap up on that. But how about like personal financial hacks? Just give us one or two, like what's the best credit card you think right now, or what's a personal financial hack that you can share with us?
Well, I mean, that depends on what you want to do. As far as credit cards go, I do have quite a few of them, and I do, from time to time look at, research on them. But it really, depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve, like whether you want, travel, or you want, or even within travel, specific kind of goals, whether you want, like a business class ticket to Asia or business class ticket to Europe, or, certain hotels, or, so it's different, every it's all different.
What do you use your credit cards for?
I mean, I use them whenever I can.
It's taking me out to dinner, right? What do you use it for your investing business, like buying your?
Yeah, I try to pay everything with credit cards and get the points, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the points, whether that goes to miles or something else, is where the personal choice comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Anything else? Like, do you use any other type of, I don't know, I'm just making shit up now because I'm a dork and I don't know what I'm talking about, like digital wallet or Venmo or PayPal, or versus, is there any other little last tidbit you can tell us before you tell us what your favorite restaurant in town is?
Yeah, digital wallet. So I have a Samsung phone. There's Samsung Pay. It's really convenient when you forgot your real wallet at home and you need to pay for something. And
Well, wait
luckily,
a minute. That's one of my strategies. For those of you that meet me at Bongos on Fridays, beware. I don't have a digital wallet and I forget. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think that happened to you, Adrian, but
Yeah.
It's happened like 2 times in the last 2 months. I know that.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So having that on your phone is really convenient, assuming the place you're at accepts it. And I've noticed, more and more places accept it. So that's pretty cool, I think.
Awesome.
But it's
last 2 questions.
not a good idea to drive without your wallet.
Word. There you go.
Because you want your driver's license with you. So I try to remember to bring my wallet.
Excellent. What do you listen to or read in order to stay current on real estate? I mean, you're a research guy. You know what's up. Basically, guys, if you have a question, just hit up Adrian, and he's going to give you a good answer. Is what I'm saying. He's one of my.
For Seattle, Puget Sound Business Journal is pretty good. They talk a lot about kind of different projects and stuff going on in the area. They're very Seattle focused, or right. Seattle area focused. So if you want kind of
Daily Journal of Commerce, also if you're
that too, that also has good.
What stuff. About podcasts? Or are you a podcast guy, or what are you?
You're busy. Seattle Investors Club.
Yeah, right on.
This one.
Awesome.
Nuts and bolts of real estate investing.
There you go.
Yeah. I just realized you guys have I forgot what that is, but you guys are on this platform that I can listen to it using my Echo device.
Oh, Joe, do you know what that is?
No, but Libsyn, our hosting company, has been really good about.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I forgot the name of that thing. Oh, yeah, I don't remember what it is. But when you go on your website, then there's an option. I forgot. There's multiple ways to listen to the podcast, and there's one way that it syncs to the Echo.
Well, there you go.
Pretty cool. I can tell Alexa I want to listen to Seattle Investors Club, and I can listen.
Nuts and bolts of real estate investing. Do you have to say Seattle Investors Club, or do you have to?
I think it's nuts and bolts of real estate investing.
Okay, there you guys go, right there. The last thing. You're an eater. All you guys eat like crazy. What is your favorite restaurant?
I guess it depends on what kind of food.
What comes to mind first? Since it's like noon and you might be hungry.
I've been going to a place called Barolo a lot. It's an Italian restaurant in downtown Seattle.
Barolo.
Yeah.
Nice. I wouldn't.
Happy hour there. I found the thing to listen to your podcast. It's called Stitcher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're on Stitcher. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that syncs up with the Echo device. Cool. So I think the process is like Alexa, tell I forgot what the verbal cue is, but there's a way to tell Alexa to play your podcast. So that's pretty cool.
Well, awesome. Yeah. Well, Adrian, you're going to have to come down to one of our Tuesday meetups. They're going super stellar.
Yeah, definitely. I've been hearing a lot of good things about it, and hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's blowing my mind actually, and new people coming every week.
Awesome.
A couple weeks ago, my intention was to try and keep it small because I think there's huge value. It's like changes the entire experience, right?
Yeah.
But so the word's getting out, which I'm going to tell you guys here in a few minutes. The word's getting out, so it's hard for me to control it 100%. I'm going to rely on you guys and me and stuff to maybe he'll help me with some strategies on maybe to keep the flavor and the nature of what it is. But I get a private room at the Elliott Bay Brewhouse and Pub in Burien. That's where we've been hanging out for the last 3-4 months. And like 2 weeks ago or 2 or 3 weeks ago, they give it to me for free, this private room. But if somebody books it, then we're downstairs. Well, I saw some people up there. I walked up the stairs. I go, that must be them, because I didn't see anybody downstairs. And I walked up, and the thing was like jam-packed full of people. And I literally said, "Oh, sorry, wrong place." And I turned around to like leave and walk back down the stairs because there were so many people. And they were like, "What are you doing, idiot? It's us." Oh my God, what are you guys all doing here? So it's been really fun. And, Nee's there and a bunch of all experience levels. It is such a good conversation. So we definitely need to get you down there to join us whenever you can. So, as we're wrapping up here, guys, I'll just let you know that we are Seattle Investors Club. Our podcast is not at all limited to Seattle. Our message and the things that we talk about apply wherever you are nationally. I know we have people listening in the Midwest because they've contacted me. It's even funny. All my traditional brokerage clients actually end up listening to the podcast, which is pretty funny. Some of that stuff going on here, but as well. But every Tuesday, guys, whoever's listening out there, we have this awesome small group, Roundtable Mastermind, which is 100% free coaching, literally one-on-one coaching. I say one-on-one, but if you have a problem or you are missing link or you just need a little boost, or should I go this way or that way, or in your decision-making about your own business, whether that's investing or brokerage or lending or whatever, it is a awesome platform for you to come get, 15, 20 people just giving you their 100% attention and helping you solve your problems or giving you a leg up on your investing business or your brokerage business or whatever it may be. So you're all welcome to join us. It's from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. every single Tuesday. And right now, until further notice, that is at the Elliott Bay Brew House and Pub down in Burien. Just walk in. They'll know where to point you, and we'll all be there. Again, it's great for brokers. It's great for wholesalers. It's great for buy and hold people. It's great for investors. It's great for experienced anything major. I'm talking great wholesalers showing up. There's wholesalers, and then there's goddamn big time wholesalers showing up. Deals are flowing like crazy down there through these guys. So come join us. Bring all your problems. Bring all your questions. Bring all your jokes, because we like to goof around. Bring your appetite, because we're going to eat. So I hope to see you guys there. And if you're listening to this, it's on probably a Friday. And come join us this coming Tuesday, and we'll see you there. Maybe even Adrian might even be there himself. Who knows? Right? But that's all I have today. You fellas have anything else to add before we wrap up? And anything else? Adrian, any final thoughts? Or how can people reach you, Adrian, if they need your lending advice, investing advice? How would you like them to be getting in contact with you?
Anyway is fine. You can, Facebook, Google me. My phone number is everywhere. Email address is everywhere. So
okay, that's Adrian Chu, CHU, guys. Yep. I'll just say he's at Horizon Real Estate is the brokerage firm that he's at, right?
Yep.
Or you can hit him up on Facebook through his Facebook community on WARI, or of course his own community, House Hacks, Financial Independence Through Real Estate. Yep. So Adrian, once again, thanks again for meeting up. We'll have to go to Bongos again sometime and
totally
talk shop on additional levels here.
Let's do it.
Other than that, Joe, where can everybody find the details of today's podcast?
All of the details can be located at seattleinvestorsclub.com/74. That's seattleinvestorsclub.com/74. And make sure that you guys subscribe to this show. It's free to subscribe. And if you like us, give us a review, because we love seeing those reviews.
Good stuff, you guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.